Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 42 of Own the Road with AutoTrader, where we make car stuff simple for Canadians. My name is Jody Lyon. I'm the editor-in-chief of AutoTrader.
And my name is Dan Alika, and I am AutoTrader's road test editor.
You know how you like to start certain episodes with a road rage rant?
Yeah?
I got a really good one for you today.
Oh, please do.
So, the other day I was driving in a parking lot, the way you're normally supposed to drive through a parking lot using the markings and whatever.
Yes.
Out of the corner of my eye, I see a guy blazing diagonally across the parking lot, across all the spaces and everything. And I'm like, okay, my math tells me if neither of us slow down, we're gonna crash into each other.
This was like grade 9 math class?
Yeah, it was like trigonometry and stuff. I can't believe I still remember it. So I slow down, he slows down, but barely. So I honk him, he flips me the bird.
Jerk. One of my favorite things that you say, I always go like, oh, so I honked at him. And you always go, I honked him. And I'm like, I didn't know that was the way. I don't know which is right. To me, the action is to honk at someone. It's like to wave at someone. I don't go, so I came into the office and I saw Jody, so I waved her. I go, oh, I waved at Jody.
I suppose.
Just like I honked at. Anyways.
So you
honked him.
I honked him.
And but then you wouldn't say, I'm not even going to say it. Anyways, moving along.
Anyway, that was my road rage story. Okay. I was outraged by it.
Can I tell, it's not so much a road rage like specific story, but can I just tell you that after spending a week in Los Angeles, it's chaos.
Oh, I won't drive there.
I can honestly say I have never, especially because, you know, when I visit cities, I love to walk around. It's just a good way to kind of sightsee and, you know, pick up a vibe. But one of the vibes that I picked up on was just like, I've never seen so many people like racing to beat lights and like aggressive driving, cutting each other off. Like in not one of those like, ooh, I'm trying to get ahead, like aggressively, you know, like doing it to kind of be a jerk. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, it's insane. It was pure chaos.
The traffic there really bothers me. One time I was in LA and I was driving an M2, a manual one.
Flex.
It took me 45 minutes to drive 2 miles.
Yeah, it's funny because Dustin Woods, who used to work with us here at AutoTrader, and he's now the PR manager for Genesis Canada. He was my host, and they brought us to this event to unveil the GV80 Coupe, the production version, and it was really cool. And so we get back in the bus to go back to the hotel, and Dustin's like, all right, so we've got about a 30-minute drive back to the hotel, and it took 90.
Oh, God.
And it was just really funny that he was so confident that it was only going to be 30 minutes.
Driving nowhere in LA takes only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
Everything you just
possible.
Triple it. That's just the rule of thumb. Anyways, It was really funny.
Anyway, it's winter tire season. Instead of publishing a new episode about winter tires, I'll invite you to scroll to some of our past episodes. So episode 15 and 17 we have are really great winter tire episodes that answer a bunch of questions and also give you a bunch of winter driving tips on how not to crash your car. But today we're going to be talking about car theft.
This is huge.
Major issue over the past few years. We've seen crime rates for this just skyrocket. So it's a really hot topic that we get a lot of questions about. So today we're going to be talking about kind of tips that you can use to protect yourself and your car. We'll kind of go through the top 10 most stolen cars and just things you can do to stay safe. Yeah,
and this is obviously, I mean, if you have been paying attention to the news at all over the last few years, it's just like it's a crime that's been steadily increasing. It's a crime of opportunity, and it's also the type of situation where, what sounds to be kind of exaggerated is not. Like, I just look back to when I was growing up, like, generally speaking, when cars were stolen, those were crimes of opportunity, but they were for, like, joyrides.
Right.
Or, crimes of opportunity, steal a car to commit another crime. Then with this latest kind of like increase in car theft,
it's like a business.
It's a business, and business is booming. And because these cars are being shipped overseas where they're resold. I know there's also been some talk about re-vinning, which is where these stolen vehicles have new VIN plates made. They're tracked differently. So they basically, like, it looks like you're buying a legit vehicle. But the problem is, we had a question about this recently, and I said to, you should be careful regardless. But one of the big reasons is a basic one. This was about cars being stolen and what, why can't they just be resold? I said, well, they're more likely than not, the recovered ones are going to be destroyed, or maybe donated to like a fire department to do some like Jaws of Life training, that sort of stuff. And somebody was like, well, why would they just destroy them when they're perfectly good? And one of the big reasons why is if it's been revinned, there's no way to track recalls, for example. So that becomes a safety issue where if you own a vehicle that has been revinned and you don't know that there's a safety related recall, you're not going to get that notice because the automaker doesn't know that this vehicle has been revinned. It's a huge problem. So yes, it sounds like something small holding back a vehicle that ends up being destroyed, but it's, safety first, and it's not worth the risk.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a crazy, like, this is pandemic levels of crime.
And so we have some stats here. So the Equity Association, which is a not-for-profit that kind of tracks the insurance industry, reported that car thefts hit historical highs in 2022. So in Ontario, it's up 48%. In Quebec, 50%. 18% in Alberta. But all over the country, it's up, right?
Yeah.
And the story used to be that car theft was a big problem in the cities, but it's happening everywhere now. In 2022, the insurance industry of Canada paid out $1.2 billion in car theft claims.
Now, look, I've said this on the podcast before, and I'll say it again because it bears repeating, and it's hilarious. Insurance is a pyramid scheme. So, you think, well, what does that matter to me? But it's like, these insurance companies aren't doing anything out of the goodness of their hearts.
No, this is business.
When they pay out these massive claims, how are they going to recoup those losses? By charging the rest of us more money.
That's why, if you've noticed your rates have gone up, this is why.
This is one of the big reasons why. And also, vehicles are more expensive than ever. Not just, purchase prices, but we're talking about the actual cost to build vehicles is higher. So when a stolen vehicle needs to be replaced, it costs more money than it used to. Therefore, premiums are going up to kind of balance that out because, these are for-profit businesses. They're not taking losses and just eating them. They're going to find a way to make sure that they get theirs.
Oh, yeah, of course. So just before we start talking about the tips, the Equity Association puts out a yearly list of top 10 most stolen cars in the country.
Yeah.
What are your guesses?
I mean, I kind of know. I haven't looked at the list this year just because I have like stolen vehicle exhaustion of just seeing these. But I like the RAV4, the Lexus RX is up there. Ford F-150 is up there. Honda CR-V.
Yep.
They're desirable vehicles. The key is when you look at it, it's vehicles that are desirable regardless of the market. Mm-hmm. That becomes, that's why they're targeted because whether it's availability of parts, whether it's just you don't want to steal a vehicle, ship it somewhere where it really is going to stand out.
Yeah,
right?
So these are all really popular vehicles. They sell a lot, which, just by like waiting, you're going to see more of them stolen because more of them are sold.
Yes. Now, before we get into like tips and that sort of stuff, I do want to tell a story that's sort of a cautionary tale that, now keep in mind, I don't know what the final outcome of this situation was. But I was reading this story from the CBC a couple months ago now where a couple had bought a Lexus RX and it was to replace an RX that got stolen. And they claim that they asked the salesperson at the dealer if it was okay to install, kind of third-party anti-theft device, some sort of electronic device. Their claim is that the salesperson told them, yes, no problem. And then shortly thereafter, there were some issues. Some electrical gremlins popped up, brought it back to the dealership, and the dealer realized that apparently it was this aftermarket system that was installed that was causing the problem, and it was going to void their warranty, and they had to pay to fix it and replace the wiring harness and all this stuff, and it was going to cost them thousands of dollars. And I don't know what the verdict on the vehicle was. I did read a follow-up story that, kind of, if you like tragic humor, the vehicle was apparently stolen
Oh my
again
God.
after this aftermarket software was, or whatever anti-theft stuff was removed. Here's the thing. This is the cautionary tale part of it. Don't do something like that. I say this all the time. It's not just about anti-theft stuff. Third party, aftermarket remote starts. I always tell people, stay away. It's not worth it, especially in a new vehicle. Warranty coverage covers the kind of the vehicle as it came out of the factory. It's different if you put wheels on it, or put an air intake. Anything like that is generally fine. But once you start messing with the complex electronic systems that operate your vehicle, you are treading into very dangerous waters. And I would just advise you to steer clear altogether, because you're going to run into issues. The other thing is, if it's really that big of a deal to you, and I understand you've gone through this, your vehicle's been stolen before, put a steering wheel club on. Don't go
sometimes
spend
low-tech things are the best solution.
exactly this idea of taking it to a third party place to have this software, this system installed, just seems very sort of reactionary, and you're taking a lot of individuals' words for it. Before you do anything like that, if you're still convinced that you want to do it, read your warranty information. I strongly encourage you. I wouldn't read it otherwise, because it's all pretty, it's by and large the same. We all get how warranties work. But if you were thinking about making a modification like that to the electronics of your vehicle, dig into that document first. And I think you're going to realize that it's probably not worth it.
Right. Good tip. Yeah, when that story came out, it was kind of mind-blowing to me. Like, what terrible luck they had.
Well, I get that, but it's also like, okay, if obviously we don't know the conversation between the salesperson and this couple that bought this vehicle, so I'm not here to speculate about it, but it's just like, there's nothing that I would do in that realm of just taking one person's word for it. I would make sure, I would double check, triple check, I would get stuff in writing, because now, you see the outcome. Now, who knows what the kind of final settlement with Toyota Canada was. Often automakers have goodwill programs where they'll help to defer some of the cost when it's expensive repairs like this. So I don't know if any of that applied to the removal of this system and the new wiring harness that apparently had to be installed. But it's just like, that is the nightmare. Like, sure, getting your car stolen sucks, but also getting thousands and thousands of dollars in repair work done because of something that you actively installed in your vehicle is, to me, a headache that you just don't want.
Yeah. Okay, so before, when we used to talk about car theft and how to
Yes.
avoid getting your car stolen, it used to be really obvious stuff, right? Like, don't leave it running with the keys, park in a well-lit area, lock your doors. But like, today, the thieves are much more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
And so with that, our prevention tips also have to become a little bit more sophisticated.
Yes. Now, one of them, again, still is, a steering wheel club-like device. Those are still great.
Yeah, and the thing is, you want to make your car look as unappealing as possible. If it's going to cause a thief to slow down and be like, oh, that's going to take me an extra 20 minutes, then that's enough for them to move on to the next car.
Yeah, it's, just the basics. I mean, so before we get into kind of like hyper specific stuff or stuff that you can do with the vehicle itself, it's like, if you have a garage, obviously park inside. If you have a car that's sort of less desirable, or, you kind of don't care about as much, park that in front of the one that is more appealing, to prevent it from being easily removed from your driveway. That's one. But then the other side of it is, and this is why I always kind of am I exercise a degree of caution with these tips because armed carjackings are becoming a bigger problem, and a steering wheel club doesn't help if you're sitting at a red light.
Right.
So before we get into the kind of stationary stuff, let's talk about, when you're out and about. I would advise you to try, I know it's hard, but to take, to mix up your route to and from work every day or whatever. Try to like not keep so much of a routine that if criminals are watching because you drive a vehicle that's appealing, if you're doing the same things at the same times every single day, there's a pattern there. That's what they're looking for. But when it comes to crimes of opportunity, one tip I can give: when you're at a red light, don't pull up right behind the vehicle in front of you. Give yourself a little bit of extra room. Keep an eye out to any one or any other vehicles around. No, it doesn't prevent crime, but you can kind of protect yourself from this potentially happening to you.
Yeah, so when I was learning how to drive, the instructor said always give yourself an exit strategy in case something were to happen.
There you go.
If someone starts knocking on your window, you can just pull out and drive away
Exactly.
instead of just sitting there like a target, right?
But the biggest tip that I think, no matter what, it defies whether you're sitting at a red light, you're sitting in a parking lot, or you're just going out, from your front door in the morning. If you get approached, especially by somebody with a weapon, just give it up. It's just a car. Yes, it sucks, and yes, it's, going to affect your insurance and all that, but like, your life is worth more than a vehicle. If you get approached, just hand over the keys and try to, remove yourself from the situation as safely as possible, because that means more than any Lexus RX or Honda CRV out there. That's just the reality of it.
Absolutely. And so how thieves are stealing cars these days, they're really brazen. Like, they'll steal it in broad daylight right from your driveway. I think the strategy a lot of them use now is they copy the signal that's coming from your key and they record it so they can come back and use that same signal to open your car and to start your car and just drive away as if it was their own.
Yeah. So one tip that, you should try to exercise is to keep your key fob as far away from the front door or the front of your home as possible. Because if you think that fob has, let's say, about a 30-foot range, more or less, if you hang your key fob just inside your front door every day when you get home from work, all it takes is somebody to be within 30 feet of the front door of your house to be able to copy or boost that signal, because those are the two methods. One is to copy it and repeat it. The other one is an extender. So if your car is 60 feet away from your front door, but they're standing there, they can boost the signal to make it longer or a broader range. So keep the key far away from your front door. If that's not possible, use one of those Faraday pouches, which is essentially like a signal blocking pouch that you can buy, or a Faraday box, and it just means that those signals can't transmit beyond like, I don't know, those things are pretty crazy and complex, but basically it's just like the signal can't escape from this pouch or this box.
Yeah. Our podcast producer Joseph also sent us a video that showed the York Region Police were giving away these little pouches for your keys because it has become such a big problem.
I remember, I got a rant about that. I remember when the story about that initiative was published, and it didn't cost the York Regional Police or the region of York itself that much money. It was something like $300,000 on an education and theft prevention campaign of giving out these pouches at some local community centers and libraries and malls or something like that. And I remember, and I mean, okay, whatever, you always say don't go into the comments, but I remember these morons on the Toronto Star website that were like, it's not up to the police to be giving out these pouches. What a waste of money. And it's like, let's just think about the money that goes into responding to all of these calls. If they're going to spend $300,000 to give away, I don't remember how many of these pouches it was, but let's say it was even 50,000 of these pouches, worth every penny. Because if you look at the totals, when these stories come out about the annual list of cars, the number of cars, when police recover stolen vehicles, we're not talking, oh, they recovered 2 vehicles. It's like they recovered $15 million worth of vehicles. So if it's going to cost York Regional Police 300 grand to give out some theft prevention pouches and educate people on how to protect themselves, money well spent. I just couldn't believe that people would, get all up in arms about something so minuscule.
Yeah, and it ends up being helpful. So it seems like a win-win for everybody.
Jody, people are idiots.
I know.
Anyways, moving on.
There's some other tips that exist out there. Like you talked about revinning cars. One tip that people say is that you should get your VIN etched into your window just to make it extra hard for them to remove it.
I mean,
there's all sorts of tips out there. Whether or not they work is really
you got to think
knows.
the VIN plate is there. The VIN is stamped on various parts, and something as easy as a windshield that can be replaced for like $300 or $500. And the CBC Marketplace did this story about vehicle theft where they went to like Africa or something like that. And I don't remember what country they were in, but they just found this dealership with cars and they tracked someone's car. And it was like a Honda CRV, and they opened the glove box and their original ownership was still in. So this idea of etching your VIN, I don't know if maybe it's these etching companies are the ones that are planting that seed, but that's not going to do much to help. That's just the reality of it.
Is there anything drivers can do to prevent like tow-away thefts?
I don't think those are very common. Drive-away thefts are like the one, that's like the thing. I mean, it's funny, driving a manual transmission vehicle is a great theft prevention.
It's true.
Because these idiots probably don't know how to drive manual anyways.
And it's also not very desirable on the black market,
exactly.
right? Because nobody can drive a manual transmission these days.
So that's a good one, regardless. But no, I don't think tow-away thefts are really much of a thing anymore.
Just because I wouldn't question if I saw a car getting towed and be like, oh, it was parked in a weird way or something. I just
Jody, you're giving the criminals tips here.
No, but
if you guys want to steal a car, here's what I suggest. Get yourself a tow truck.
No, people are out there doing this. And because they can do it in broad daylight and not be questioned, I think that's why it's like
maybe.
a thing.
I don't think tow-away thefts are a very common thing.
Okay, I mean some rich people have been installing like bollards that pop out of their driveway to prevent cars.
Must be nice.
I know, right? I'm like, that seems like a pretty high-tech solution when something like a club would work just fine.
Yeah.
Also, some insurance companies, if you have one of those really top 10 stolen vehicles, they might help you cover the cost of an anti-theft device. But again, you want to make sure that it doesn't void your warranty or anything like that. So before you embark on that, just make sure that it won't affect your coverage.
Yeah.
But it is, it's cheaper for them to pay for that anti-theft device.
What's this note here? Parking with the wheels turned in.
Well, that was one of the tips I read about the drive-away thefts, that if you have a front-wheel drive car, for example, you can turn the wheels, and that kind of prevents you from getting towed away.
Oh, tow. I just pictured like somebody, like a thief, like going to great lengths to unlock the car and be like, damn, the wheels are turned. Time to move on to the next one. But okay, for tow-away, I get that. Yeah.
I don't know. What else do you have to add to this? This is such a tricky thing to talk about.
I know, because that's the thing. It's less outright theft prevention, and it's like, just like theft reduction. It's
right.
Trying to, do as much as you can. I mean, what's his name? What is it? Peter Donovan from The Star actually had his Toyota Highlander stolen from his house while he was like reporting on
oh my God
on vehicle thefts. I mean, it's so crazy the frequency with which this is happening nowadays. Like, I just cannot get over it. But it's just like do your best. And like I said, the biggest tip really is just like, if you find yourself in a situation where it's a carjacking, just don't fight back. Like, it's not worth it. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're injured or worse because you put up a fight for a material object.
Yeah, the car will be replaced by your insurance company eventually, right?
Yeah.
So just for your own safety, just let it go.
Yeah, or do yourself the biggest, theft and joy. It's theft prevention and joy retention tip I can give you. Drive a 2014 Volkswagen Golf diesel manual wagon.
Because no one wants it.
Nobody wants it except for me, and I'm not going to steal yours because I already have one. So
Boom.
so that's a great tip.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Before we get to our Ask an Expert segment, here is a message from our friends at AutoTrader. Save time and money by using AutoTrader, Canada's most trusted place to buy and sell new and used cars. AutoTrader has the most cars, and one of the best features is price badging, so you can feel more confident that you're getting a good deal. Today's Ask an Expert comes from Wayne. He says, I recently purchased a new vehicle and asked the dealer for their cost. They would not supply this info, saying it was proprietary information. Comments? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I don't think anyone would ever tell you the cost because that would just give you too much bargaining power.
Yeah, like, Wayne, you're not going to strut into Best Buy and say, before I buy this TV, I want to know what the wholesale on this bad boy was. Like, okay, I it's worth a shot, I guess, but like that's not information that a dealer should or would share with anyone outside of like maybe if you had a friend who would be willing to tell you what the dealer net was on that vehicle. But like, sorry, man, that's just like retail.
Yeah, that's just how it works. I don't think there's a way around that.
Like it doesn't, whether it's a T-shirt, TV or a pickup truck, like that's just the way it's going to go.
They need to make money on that vehicle, and they don't have to disclose what their margins are at all.
No way. Yeah. And also, there's also weird, well, not weird, but there are different, like the margins could change. Some OEMs use, these like holdbacks where it's like once you move a certain volume, you'll get an extra chunk back. It's basically like as an incentive to the dealers to move more vehicles. So the cost could change from dealer to dealer, from month to month, depending on what the OEM is trying to move. So, but regardless, that's not information that if I were a salesperson or if I ran a dealership, there's no way I'd be sharing that information with customers, right? Because to Jody's point, like their margins are what they are and they need to make money. And if they start giving out that secret, then the whole game is over.
The whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
That's just how retail works.
Yeah.
The next Ask an Expert question comes from Barish, who works with us here at AutoTrader.
Good guy.
He writes, why are electric vehicles' top speed not as high compared to their ICE counterparts with the same horsepower, if not more?
I mean, part of it really is going to boil down to, battery retention tip. Like they're going to not allow that EV to reach maximum speeds because the faster you go in an EV, the faster it burns through its battery. So it's like, and also, why do we need to go this fast? I think cars are too fast nowadays, regardless of how they're powered.
Top speeds to me have always been very useless because whoever goes that fast, unless you're like some race car driver,
well, I mean,
in a closed setting.
Barsh, you should see him on that sim rig at the office.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty savage at that.
And go-karting?
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's why he's asking. This is like professional development stuff.
Oh, maybe.
But no, the reality is it comes down to just like not allowing speeds that would degrade the battery super fast. Speaking of, we still have a little bit of time, and this is kind of relevant, is that I was in LA, saw the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, which is the production performance EV that we've all been waiting for, that Hyundai's been teasing for a while. Got some insight, got a big scoop from Till Wartenberg, who's the N brand boss.
This is an exclusive.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. And I was chatting with him after this unveil, and he told me how many laps the Ioniq 5N can do of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which is the big 21-kilometer loop, 170 corners. Like, it's a beast. And I was curious, how many laps this thing could do. And he told me that it could do 2 like full out laps, like,
Like
pedal
driven
to the
hard.
yeah, like pedal to the metal. And after those 2 laps, there was about 30% state of charge remaining. So effectively, it could do almost 3 full laps of the Nürburgring. I know that doesn't sound like a ton, but also keep in mind that like a gas-powered vehicle can probably do between 5 and 8 laps of the Nürburgring before needing to refuel. So yes, it's less, but it's not as much less as you might imagine.
That's very impressive.
Yes.
I'm very interested about this car because it is really
Same.
the first mainstream performance EV.
Well, the Mustang Mach-E GT Performance Edition is
I
pretty,
suppose, but they
yeah.
never did Nürburgring tests on that, did
Not
they?
that I know of, no. But this is, yeah. So I guess in that, this is the first one that's been, been tested with kind of not published figures, but Hyundai's not hiding from this fact. He told me that it was sub 8-minute lap times, which puts it in the neighborhood of the Volkswagen Golf R with the DCT, with the automatic transmission. Just to give you guys some context of how fast it is outright, that's what you're looking at. But he didn't get into like specific down to the second. Anyways, just wanted to share that.
Very cool. Very excited about that car.
Same.
That wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. The next episode, we're going to be talking about the most useless car features.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Which is going to be a fun one. So drive safe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.